Observability data is naturally hierarchical. Clusters run workloads, workloads host services, services generate requests, errors, logs, and metrics. Now, Treemaps turn that complexity and hierarchy into something our brain can process at a glance. For instance, larger blocks immediately show where impact is concentrated. On the other side, bright or mismatching colors highlight hotspots and anomalies, while grouping reveals patterns across teams, technologies, or environments. So you're not just looking at data, you're really recognizing behavior and patterns in your data. This is why Treemaps are valuable across roles. To give you some examples, developers can easily spot which services and endpoints are driving errors or latency. Cloud operation teams can see where resource usage or costs are concentrated. SREs can identify blast radius, single points of failure, and systematic risk, while architects can validate design assumptions and understand real-world usage patterns. Now, everyone uses the same data, but visualizes the relevant patterns for their specific use case through their specific lens. Now, in this video, I will show you how to use Treemaps in Dynatrace to visually explore your observability data, uncover hidden patterns, and quickly focus on what truly matters. Let's get started. We are here at the Dynatrace Playground tenant, and I have already prepared a notebook for you called Visually Identifying Patterns in Your Observability Data with Treemaps and Plotter Charts. You can also find the link to this notebook that is shared on that public environment in the description of the video, so you can just see everything that I've done. Now, I can also recommend that you are just taking your own copy by either duplicating it or by downloading this and importing it into your own Dynatrace tenant, because then you have all the queries available and you can also then execute all of this against your own data. I'll keep working on this one here. So what I have is I have a couple of use cases that I've already prepared. So I'm scrolling down. For instance, process insights. This here is a tree map that visualizes how many different processes do I have, grouped by process and technology type, and then by region where it's deployed. So I immediately see visually that the biggest technology I have is Containerd with 523 different instances, and they're split by US East 1, East US, and US Central 1. So these are the three major regions where Containerd is deployed. Second one, also very easy to see, is Go, then followed by libc, some Dynatrace, Node.js, and Java. Now, this, believe it or not, is just a regular DQL query visualized with a tree map. So if you click on Show Input, you actually see how the query looks like. I am querying Smartscape nodes, so all the processes, and I'm extracting the technology type. And then I'm adding the region, which I'm either taking from the AWS region, the Azure location, GCP, or if none of those exist, I call it on-premise. And then I just create a summary and I split by tag types and region. So let me show you this in a little bit more detail behind the scenes. If I click on options now, by default, if you execute a query, you would have a table view, right? So this query here basically just provides a table with a count column and two categories, tag types and region. And the table view is also typically what I start with when I execute and create a query. But then if you have a table like this, you can now switch it to Treemap. And that's what I did earlier. So Treemap is one of the new visualization options. And if you scroll down, you also see the data mapping. So you can say, what is the main category? What is the subcategory? That's optional. What's the value column, right? And then also you can specify what specifies the color, what is used for the coloring, the category, subcategory, or value. You also have a couple of different options to specify labels or not, right? You can show this, turn it on, turn it off. Obviously, legend and tooltips, these are, I think, kind of the common settings that you would expect, right? But everything that you can put into a table that has a count that can be then visualized as the size of the block, and then you have a category like Containerd, and you can also have a subcategory. All right, so let me show you a couple of more examples, and then we create one from scratch. Infrastructure and cloud insights. This here is how many hosts by cloud provider and version. Right, so I'm basically seeing immediately that the biggest bunch is on Azure deployed, followed by AWS and GCP, and then I see also what type of host it is in which version. If I click on show input, I'm sure you have noticed this or you already thought about this. I'm just looking at all the hosts in Smartscape. I do a count and I split by cloud provider and the operating system version. So that's pretty cool. Give you some more examples. You can obviously explore everything yourself. AWS objects by account and type, I thought, is a really interesting one. So what type of AWS resources do you have? For instance, 8 security cubes, 7 EC2 instances, 4 DynamoDB tables, and you can easily see this. Now, obviously, you can switch the whole thing, right? If you like to do this the other way around, maybe not using the region as the main category, but you want to have the type. So if you click on options, let's put this to the test. I can say the category should be this and the subcategory should be region, right? So in this case, we can immediately see what type of resources we have in what type of region. All right. So hopefully this was helpful as well. I'm just switching this back because this makes a little bit more sense for me. Also, I just show you the query. So Smartscape, give me all of the nodes in Smartscape that have something to do with AWS. Then split it and do a count again, split it by region. And the only thing I do here, the resource types, all of them start with AWS and then twice a double dot. So I just basically trim the first 5 characters, and that's what it is, right? Cool. I want to give you a couple of more examples. Kubernetes insights, really interesting. How big are the namespaces in terms of pod size? So how many pods do we have deployed in which particular namespace and to which cluster does this belong to? Kubernetes pod disruption target problem. So that's also an interesting one. So I'm basically looking at which namespaces, which workloads have pod disruption target status events. And then I split it, I count the events. Let me just show you the query, show input. So looking at all the Kubernetes pods, the cool thing is with having all this information in Smartscape, you can really access through JSON very easily every single element in your Kubernetes object. So the status condition, and then I'm basically looking at only the disruption targets. So I count how many pods have a disruption target status condition, and then I split it by namespace and workload. All right, so do me a favor, explore all the stuff that I have here, Kubernetes more Kubernetes examples, also examples on problems are here, analyzing problem radios or blast radios. I also have some plotter charts here. I will probably do another how-to just on plotter charts because that's also really interesting, great to visualize over time. Log insights, what are the top log producers per status and namespace? Metric insights, metric cardinality. So what are the metric keys that provide and the metric sources that contribute most to your metric cardinality, and so on and so forth. Span insights, another interesting one. So what are the most complex spans that you have in the namespace and endpoint? And you can, for all of these, just click on show input. So you see the query. And that's really, it's always the same thing, right? Get in the end a DQL query. DQL is very powerful, and the data you have in Dynatrace is very powerful. And if you can group it, then you can also visualize it in a Treemap. Real user insights. You can see here, I try to be as creative as possible. Some business examples as well. And then also, what else can you think of visualizing? Leave a comment on the video. Send us an email, right? And if you want to, the best way to get started is just you duplicate this notepad, or you download it and install it and import it in your own tenant. And then you can just go ahead. So let's start with the example that I had here, fetch logs, and then I do a summarize, and I do a count, and let's say we do this by log level, right? So log level. If I run it, I get an overview of count and log level. And now under options, I can switch to the review. And here we go. Right? And you can then, with a second category that you can do, for instance, for those where we have let's say a Kubernetes cluster, a cluster name, let's run it. And here we go. And now we have everything split by cluster name. So this is pretty cool. Pretty powerful. Hopefully this showed you how you can identify patterns in your data by using the Treemap visualization. So to recap, Treemaps help you turn complex observability data into something you can understand at a glance. By visualizing structure, size, health in a single view, you can quickly spot patterns, outliers, and impact, whether you're troubleshooting, optimizing, or making architectural decisions. Now, if this was helpful, please try applying the Treemaps to your own Dynatrace data and see what patterns jump out. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and let us know in the comments how you're using Treemaps in your environment. I'm always interested in hearing from our users. So thanks for watching and happy observing.